After Sylvie sends Loki through a time door so she can execute the man at the Citadel at the end of time, he finds himself at the Time Variance Authority, TVA. He approaches Mobius but realizes he is in his past before his friendship with Mobius. Mobius and other agents start chasing Loki, causing him to jump into a car. The driver panics and hits a statue, crashing into the TVA. The crash causes a large sphere to fall and crack the floor. Loki sees Casey, but he doesn't recognize him and calls Mobius. Suddenly Loki's body morphs, and he disappears. He reappears before Casey, but the latter doesn't recognize him. Loki sees the crack in the floor and realizes he is jumping through different timelines. In the present, Mobius and Hunter B-15 watch as many branches stem from the sacred timeline rapidly. The two are approached by Hunter X5, who informs them that the judges are summoning them. Since Judge Renslayer is absent, Judge Dox and Gamble assume leadership roles. Suddenly, Loki morphs into the present and learns Mobius is headed to the meeting. He walks to the hall but finds himself in the past. There, he finds a recording suggesting that the TVA's creator is working with Renslayer. At the meeting, B-15 argues that all the branches represent variants of themselves. She shares that the TVA employees were taken from those branches, and pruning the branches means eliminating millions of people. Gamble agrees to stop pruning just as Loki appears. He explains that he who remains is coming, and how Sylvie wanted to execute him. Doc sends X5 and a few men on a mission to recover Sylvie so they can find out what happened at the end of time. Loki explains to Mobius everything that has happened. The guy at the end of time had been protecting the universe by keeping evil, violent, and vicious versions of himself away. Now that the branching is back, those bad versions of him are bound to come back. Loki wants to find Sylvie and stop her. Mobius doesn't believe that Loki is slipping between the past and present. Suddenly, Loki disappears and reappears, making Mobius believe it. Since the disappearance act is ugly to watch, he wants to fix Loki, so the two seek information from TVA technician Ouroboros OB. OB recognizes Mobius and shares he has been working alone for centuries. Loki morphs, and OB mentions that he is time-slipping. He knows about it but not how to fix it. Loki warps into the past and meets with OB. Mobius realizes Loki is speaking with OB in the past. Mobius needs to get to the temporal loom to extract Loki with the temporal aura extractor. He has to do it just right, or his skin will peel off. On the other hand, Loki will need a time stick to prune himself. The combo will release Loki from time and bring him to the present. Loki reappears to Mobius, who isn't sure he wants to lose his skin. The lights flicker, and Mobius says that they have been having power surges all day. OB realizes something is very wrong and takes the two to the temporal loom. OB says the branching is dangerously overloading the temporal loom. The temporal loom is the heart of the TVA, and the overload is a disaster about to happen. The branches have to be pruned, but B-15 doesn't want to execute all those people. OB suggests he can seal it while he figures out how to make it hold all those branches. Loki and Mobius have a few minutes to fix Loki. He suddenly warps and drops the time stick in Mobius's timeline. Loki has a timer to help him identify when Mobius's part of the plan is successful. He has to do his part too, or he will be lost to time forever. Mobius suits up and anchors himself to the TVA while walking toward the temporal loom. He manages to link the temporal aura extractor with the temporal loom. The timer in Loki's hand glows green, but he finds he doesn't have a time stick. OB waits for a while, but the loom goes critical, forcing him to start sealing it off. Elsewhere, Loki resigns to his state. He hears a phone ring and an elevator door opens, revealing Sylvie. Before the two can talk, someone prunes Loki. Mobius is still waiting on Loki, so OB calls him back as the suit has started peeling off due to the radiation. Suddenly, Loki comes flying from the temporal loom and hits Mobius, propelling them both into the TVA. Hunter B-15 suspects something is wrong when she sees many heavily armed soldiers, including Dox, go on a mission to find Sylvie. In the mid-credits scene, Sylvie enters a branch timeline in 1982 at Broxton, Oklahoma. She enters a McDonald's restaurant. When asked what she wants, Sylvie looks at the people in the restaurant and says she wants to try everything. In the second episode, Loki and Mobius enter London in 1977 on the sacred timeline. They are also looking for Sylvie, since Dox and Hunter X5 haven't been responding to messages. The two stumble upon a large crowd waiting for a famous movie star called Brad Wolfe. Brad happens to be Hunter X5. Loki and Mobius approach him, but he runs away, resulting in a chase. Brad has a tempad, which Hunter B-15 takes. Loki corners Mobius, but he uses a device to teleport. Loki is angry at being deceived, so Mobius suggests he uses magic. Brad finds himself surrounded by rowdy youths, but Loki appears and freezes the crowd. Brad says the fight is unfair, and Loki mentions it wasn't supposed to be. He creates two versions of himself and pins Brad on the wall using shadow play. Brad is apprehended and taken to the TVA headquarters. He has modified his tempad, so Loki and Mobius ask OB to help them figure it out. However, OB wonders what is more important between fixing a tempad and preventing a temporal meltdown. He gives the two men a manual so they can figure it out themselves. The men don't understand anything and make a mess of everything. Casey sees the tempad and knows it's not modified to hide location, as Brad had said. The group goes to interrogate Brad, and Mobius warns Loki against letting Brad get under his skin. Brad wants to know why he has been detained, and B-15 says it is because he abandoned his post as a hunter. Loki starts interrogating Brad, but he mocks him for trying to be a hero and unwrite every awful thing he and Sylvie have done. He calls Loki the problem, saying he is a villain and a loser and should stay as so. Mobius takes over the interrogation, but Brad refuses to answer, asking why Mobius doesn't want to see his real life. He maintains that all this is not real and urges Mobius to wake up. Mobius is angry, and he punches Brad before walking out of the room. Loki follows Mobius, and the two stumble into a pie room. Mobius shares he loves his life in the TVA. Loki and Mobius share pie, and Mobius reveals that he isn't worried about finding something terrible happening in his real life. He worries about the good he might discover and have to live with. The two discuss X5's reluctance. Mobius knows that X5 couldn't have abandoned his post without knowing Sylvie's location. They assume that X5 found Sylvie but didn't turn her in so he could continue living his best life as a movie star. Loki and Mobius bring a device into the interrogation room to torture Brad. Loki asks Mobius to get the controller, but he locks Mobius out of the room, revealing he has had the controller all along. Mobius shouts at Loki, asking him to unlock the door. Brad smiles as he realizes Loki doesn't know how to use the controller. However, Loki presses a button, and a glass box appears. This scares Brad, and he starts calling for Mobius. Loki interrogates Brad by putting him in a glass box and squeezing it. Brad insists that this isn't real, to which Loki says he wouldn't mind dying. Brad relents and explains what happened. Brad was on a mission to find Sylvie, but he bailed. He found Sylvie, but she has a new life. Loki then opens the door and Mobius enters the room, saying mischief always works. Meanwhile, Ob finds a way to repair the temporal loom safely while keeping the branches, but finds out he cannot access the loom as he has been locked out. He needs the rogue AI Miss Minute's help. Mobius, Loki, and Brad travel to Sylvie's location. Loki wants to question Sylvie alone while Brad is jumpy and wants to leave. Mobius pulls Brad into the restaurant to try some pies while Loki speaks with an agitated Sylvie. Loki explains he isn't there to cause trouble, but he has seen Sylvie in TVA in the future and wonders what she was doing. Sylvie maintains that she is happy with her new life and wants nothing to do with the TVA. In the restaurant, Brad and Mobius argue over Brad's movie. Brad insists on leaving, making Mobius figure out something is wrong. The two approach Loki and Brad reveals that they will all die if they keep waiting. Sylvie enchants Brad and sees that Dox's mission is to blow up and destroy all the branches at the same time. She gets Dox's location, and Mobius shares the new information with B12. B12 reveals that the plan has already started, and 30% of the branches have been pruned already. The group travels to Dox's location and tries to stop the process. A fight ensues and Dox is apprehended. B12 summons Mobius to the TVA and Sylvie joins them. They all watch in sadness as most branches disappear, courtesy of Dox's accomplices. The process was achieved via reset charges and the modified TemPads, like the one Brad has. Casey reveals he has gotten a hit on Renslayer's TemPad, so they get her location in one of the remaining branch timelines. Loki approaches Sylvie, who is devastated by the loss. She is disgusted and asks if this is the best the TVA can do to protect lives, and Loki says they were blindsided. Sylvie says the TVA is broken, rotten, and the source of all problems. Sylvie travels to her timeline and lies on her truck. A co-worker approaches her and asks if she will come in the following day. Sylvie promises to show up, suggesting she wants to continue living a new life in Oklahoma. If you enjoy this video, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and watch this video on the left as well.